So, if you peruse my YouTube channel at all, it might make it seem like digital art is the only art I make, but that would be quite the false assumption, as I've actually been making a lot of traditional art in the past 2 years, for a few reasons. One, because it's fun to do very hands-on art every now and then, and two, I wanted to start selling stuff at my local craft fairs. I do admit that I'm still much more confident in my digital art skills, but today I want to show the internet and any potential buyers what I've made so far. Plus, I'll talk about how I made it and the materials I used. Almost all of my materials are gathered sustainably, like thrift stores, or they're at least cheap to get a hold of. Now, on to the showcase. First, we're going to start with the items made of fabric. Yep, I'm not just a professional artist, but I am also a mediocre plush maker. So, I've made these patterns before when I was first learning how to make plushies, which I'll probably put pictures on the screen of my first attempts. Before anyone asks, full credit for the patterns goes to this person, Sudesune on Etsy. The instructions are also super in-depth with tons of pictures to help. I definitely recommend it for beginners. Anyway, all of the fabric for these plushies was thrifted, which you can probably tell. I still tried to use fabric that was soft and huggable though, like cotton, fleece, stuff like that. However, it means I made only as many plushies as my fabric allowed, so I have 2 black cats, 4 of those gray pugs, 7 pink bunnies, and 4 blue dragons. I'll see which ones end up selling best, but my money's on the dragon. Overall, while I think these turned out cute, one of the things I'm going to remember next time I make plushies is not to use the fusible web applique for the eyes. For those who don't know, fusible web applique is just a type of iron-on glue that can stick fabric together permanently. But when it comes to this style of big toony eyes, it's definitely better to use an embroidery machine. But the problem with using one of those is that I don't have one, nor do I have an extra 72 hours laying around for me to hand embroider 17 plushies. So I'm gonna keep that in mind if I make these again. Might lean into the Coraline vibes and use buttons like some other plush makers. Now, moving on to my next item made of fabric, which are these hanging wall decor items, which I've just kind of been calling tapestries for the most part. These were a bit of an impulse idea, since I just wanted an excuse to use up a bunch of felt fabric that I bought in this giant rainbow bundle. I only needed black felt fabric for a different project that I'm not showing. But the rainbow bundle was all they had, so yeah. Anyway, as I said, these were made using felt fabric, obviously, but also the white string and the small wooden dowel were used for structure, mostly. I used a sewing machine to do all the stitching, too, which, yeah, it did take forever. Thank you for asking. Also, if you're wondering why the colors look a bit grimy, it's not because I mistook them for cleaning rags on accident, but rather it was on purpose, to give them a more vintagey, faded look. Alas, I might have a too much gene somewhere in me, because I think I added too much paint to my dark wash, and it got the fabric too dark too fast. I still think it's a cute handmade item, but this method of dry brushing on fabric might need some refinement in the future. When it comes to the designs themselves, I can show you the concept sketch actually. It's pretty clean compared to other concept sketches I've done, and you can see that I didn't really stray too far from the original design when it came to the final product. The designs aren't really inspired by anything specific though, I just drew stuff that I enjoy, like animal features and mushrooms, and mostly just things based in nature. Overall, I think these tapestries are cute, and I have enough felt to do another one, which I will eventually do. I just haven't thought of the right design, but, one day. Okay, so does anyone remember that time where YouTubers and influencers were just trying out acrylic pouring for fun? Yeah, that's entirely the inspiration here, because guess what? I also thought acrylic pouring looked fun, so I tried it. And guess what? It was fun. Wow, who would have thought? But for real, acrylic pouring is ridiculously easy and ridiculously fun if you just like swirling pretty colors around on a canvas. I'm not sure why some YouTubers like Sophia Nygaard had this elaborate measuring process with other additives like water and stuff, since what I do is just use the pouring medium by itself, which can be found at my local Walmart, surprisingly enough. I also eyeball the measurements completely, and I haven't yet been punished for it with an ugly outcome. So this seems like a very approachable type of art to make. Since it's so easy though, I've probably made around 7 of these bad boys at this point, including the ones I've sold. Most of them have been red and black, which makes sense if you've seen my channel. Though sometimes I'll try to do more colorful palettes, some of which being inspired by pride flags, because of course I had to do some pride colors. So far I've just done the trans flag colors, the aromantic flag colors, and the asexual flag colors. I want to do more pride color pours eventually, but at this point in time I feel like I'm running out of space to make more. So once I sell some or maybe give some away, I can see myself diving back into this one to finish that little side quest. Now we are going to move on to another type of art involving canvas and acrylic, which is acrylic paint on a blank canvas. Wow, how exciting, truly. Banksy should be jealous of me and my radical whimsy, honestly. So yeah, these are all gonna be fairly basic in terms of materials in the process. The personalization just comes in what I have painted here, which is a whole lot of stuff. At least 3 of these paintings were made during rather unstable parts of my life, so there's a lot of feelings wrapped up in some of these, but since those unstable parts of my life have mostly passed, I feel very comfortable selling or giving away these paintings to people who might find some comfort in them, much like I did when I made them. But one of these paintings is just a cat being vored by a giant mouth because I thought it'd be metal as hell. Plus, I also think of it as a reference to the Mystery Flesh Pit. So we've got quite a bit of variety here when it comes to what inspires me to paint, but, I think that kind of goes for every artist. Every artist has, some emotional paintings, and then also some weird paintings. Now moving on to the next item, which might seem kind of random, but, don't you ever just walk down the dollar store, in the craft aisle, and think to yourself, damn, wouldn't it be so fun to paint all of these items that are being sold specifically with the purpose of being painted? Well, that's what goes through my head at least. So that's exactly what I did here. These are just some flat wooden dinosaurs that I painted with acrylics and added some googly eyes for funsies. Since I knew this was kind of a simplistic project, I tried my best to at least add some texture or dimension where I could, hence the use of patterns like dots or zigzags. Overall, it looks cute to me though. I just can't really tell if the googly eyes make it look funny or cheap. I mean, I think googly eyes on anything is charming, but that might be a minority opinion. It might be leaning towards, children's bedroom type decor, but I mean, I'm not really against that interpretation. Children's bedrooms can and should look sick as hell. So, do you remember how I said I was inspired by YouTubers to do acrylic pours? Yeah, we're not done taking inspiration from YouTubers because another craft I discovered through them is thrift flipped paintings. I was introduced to this via Rob Czar of Threadbanger Infamy, and then also saw Rachel Maxey do it in one of her videos as well. I assumed it would be as fun as it looks, but turns out I was completely right. There's not much to explain about this in terms of materials or process. I just got thrifted paintings that I thought had some potential and then painted over them at home. I tried to do my own little spin on them though. I wanted to see if I could still keep the original painting but just lay elements on top of it to give the painting a new vibe to it. That seems to be kind of the general way that people go about with thrift flipping. So, just for fun, here's the original paintings versus what I added. I think it's a good activity to do if you know you want to paint, but you just don't know what. So, just go edit someone else's painting to get that painting fix. I definitely want to do this more often, though, which I will. Now, we move on to the most generic thing at any artist's table, and that's stickers. I have about 5 designs here, all of them I ordered from a custom sticker making site. So obviously I had to draw all these designs myself, and some of them are quite charming, I think. The boob one tends to get a few giggles, for obvious reasons. Lots of people tend to like the space cat too, but it seems like no one knows what the Kermit sticker is referencing. It's referencing this meme. I guess it's only well known by, like, young 20-somethings who were terminally online dweebs like me. The Pitbull sticker is inspired by my dog Joey, and the illustration of a bird is inspired by the city of Kamloops. These drawings are definitely more on the personal side, so I may retire them or give them away to make room for different designs. Because believe me, I have lots of other sticker designs in mind. Just you wait. Now, onto the second most generic thing at any artist's table, which is cardstock prints of their digital illustrations. I only have 2 different illustrations here. First, we have my Espeon and Umbreon drawing. I made this drawing purely on a whim after booting up my copy of Soul Silver. I wasn't crazy about it at first, but I had some friends who thought it was a cool illustration. So I figured, hey, why not try to sell it? My second illustration here is an original drawing, which was inspired by this Tumblr post. Which, before you say anything, yes, I still use Tumblr. So, I've seen this post time and time again on my dash, and there's just something about the way it's worded, as if it's the deer itself remarking on the seal's similar spots. It just sparked this image in my head, and I was like, okay, time to put everything down and draw this sick-ass idea right now, which is exactly what I did. Tumblr's been loving it, by the way, shout out to these tags. The beauty of this drawing, though, is that if someone saw me selling it at a craft fair, they wouldn't immediately know it's a Tumblr post. So, no one who sees me at these markets will know I still use Tumblr in 2025. But hey, it's still better than 8chan. Sorry, I meant 4chan. Sorry, I meant Twitter. Sorry, I meant X. Alright, next up, we got something a bit more on the experimental side. So, one thing you gotta know about me is that I really love terrarium art. Whether it's used to keep a live creature or just for display. Any type of nature-based diorama that's kept in glass or clear plastic casing just makes me go nuts. So I wanted to try my hand at making a mini terrarium like this. I got pretty much all the materials at the dollar store, so that's pretty awesome for saving money on new crafts like this. Then I just glued them into the dome. It was mostly an intuitive process. So this is like a really easy way to get a cute little terrarium to display. Now, last but not least, we got some little guys, aka just polymer clay sculptures. Except for the pink rabbit, that's air dry clay. Which, by the way, if you're gonna make a figure like this out of air dry clay, my advice would be to just don't do that. Air dry clay, especially from the dollar store, is very brittle. In fact, at the time of recording, I didn't get to sell this little pink bunny here because it broke simply by just falling over on the table. So that's my lesson learned. Do not use air dry clay from the dollar store. However, my little skrunklies that are made out of polymer clay are much better. Go figure, it's a better quality product that isn't sold at the dollar store. Anyway, the sculptures were inspired by this drawing that my cousin made. I liked them a lot because of the big bulging eyes he gave them. Plus, they were mostly comprised of simple shapes that I felt fairly confident in making. The confidence paid off, though, because I think they turned out quite cute in all their weirdness. Finally, I have another separate set of clay figures, which I designed myself. If you're wondering what they are exactly, that is indeed the point. They're intended to just be undefined creatures that resembles several things at once. I actually did a decent concept sketch here, but as you can see, some things had to be changed when I actually made the 3D sculpt itself. I still think they turned out super cute though, in all their adorable lumpiness. So there we have it. That was most, if not all, of the traditional art I've made in the last year or so. At the time of recording, I've actually already attended one of the craft fairs I signed up for. Here's a photo. And I just want to say thank you to the ones who came up to my booth to compliment my art, or just to make friendly conversation. These craft fairs really help me stay motivated to create new things, so I will definitely keep doing them until my current stock runs out. Then, once I make more crafts, you can bet I'll showcase them in a video like this again. Not just to show off my improvement, but also to keep a video record for, posterity's sake. Now, if you have any ideas of a craft or design you think I'd like, then say them down below. I'm always curious to try out new art techniques. Anyway, subscribe or don't.